the majority and see how this situation was and unsustainable. We would continue. The social contract is a very good thing, and we have all reason to believe that all Zimbabweans are looking at that social contract to bring positive results to the economy and social situation in our country. The other question was directed to Honorable Chasi. That was from Mr. Mafundikwa. How soon can we see an impact on Honorable Chasi?
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to answer questions that have to do with very important matters in our country at the moment, our generation. Yes, there have been developments over the past few days. As I indicated earlier in the weeks when I was appointed, the resolution of our power issues falls on all of us as Zimbabweans. We have got to deal with the supply side of power and also deal with the demand side. A key point to consider is the fact that we must pay our bills, all of us. Very easy to criticize ZESA and so forth. But when we have a bill of 1.2 billion to our own utility, which is at the very nerve center of our economy, I think it's a wake-up call for all of us to take the necessary measures to ensure, first, that the utility is viable, and secondly, that it is also able to interact with other actors, particularly the much-needed investors that we want in our country. So yes, I have insisted that we all must pay, including government departments, and government has acted very swiftly to my request with a payment of 20 million, slightly above what government departments have owed ZESA. So this has been rounded up to 20 million. Why is this important? Well, all of us must pay our bills, and government, I think, has led the way by paying. What are we going to do with the money that is going to ZESA? We're not just throwing this money at them, even though they're the ones who are owed. We are engaged in discussions which make sure that that money is applied, it is deployed to areas of generation, part of which is production of coal, which is key to the generation of thermal power. And so yes, that is significant. We're expecting another 20. We also have a plan on its utilization. We need a plan for power in Zimbabwe. A plan that recognizes the fact that we have a deficit, but our vision is not simply to extinguish the deficit. It is also to bring us to a point where we can actually export power to other countries that may face challenges. So that is the long-term view that we have got. The measures that have been taken to date, the payment of the balance that the government departments owed to ZESA, and the payment of the 10 million are really the short-term measures that we can take to ensure that we have sufficient power to the entire country, particularly the productive sector, and that we also address the load shedding, which is causing a lot of hardship to the public. I am not at the moment in a position to say specifically what we're going to get from ESCOM. We're engaged with them. We've made a significant payment, and we should be getting some relief from that quarter. If we are able to get the 400 megawatts, that would be very, very good, because It's going to deal with the spike of consumption that we experience every day, which is what has occasioned load shedding. So I think we're going to continue on this path, but we also need to deal with the demand side, as I said. We're coming up with a program to install meters in government departments. We've already installed at my own ministry is a meter. Minister will be coming to your ministry to install a meter so that we manage our own consumption. We are also looking at efforts to disengage as many as possible of our consumers from the grid during the day, which means that we need to look at solar in a very, very direct way and deliberate way. I've just asked that we have an aerial view of Harare to see the amount of roof space that can be used for purposes of installation of solar. Once we have that, we hope to excite pension funds, financial institutions, and others who have an interest in green energy, because that is the way to go. And we can begin to cover our roofs with solar panels and generate power, which gives all economic players freedom to do their work without interruption. But I think that we will be turning the corner pretty soon, but we must not sit on our laurels. We must continue to work on the balance sheet of power and engage investors with a view to knocking off significant chunks of the megawatts that are in deficit until we clear. When we clear that, then we go into profitability as a country in the sector of power, and we should be able also to make significant gains from that. Thank you.
Okay. I'm not sure if you handled the question now with the payment of $10 million. You dealt with that?
Yes,
I did. And also any consideration for them also?
Oh yes, yes, we paid 10 million to ESCOM. These are our neighbors, our sisters and brothers, and often we come to each other's aid. That's the number of countries in SADC who have challenges, even next door to Zambia. Also significant load shedding that is happening. So like I indicated, I can't pronounce at the moment exactly the megawatts that we are going to be receiving, but that payment of 10 million is a significant development which we expect to alleviate our current difficulties in the area of power. We are also going to engage in further detailed discussions with our neighbors in Mozambique, HCB, also after the intervention by the President on his recent visit, to now work out the details as to what is it that is possible, and at an appropriate time we'll be able to communicate with you the exact agreements that we've reached and the power that we'll be getting and when. Thank you. On DEMA, yes, we're currently focusing on short-term measures that will bring relief to our country insofar as power is concerned. I'm currently engaged in studying what really is required in order to ensure that DEMA comes on board. It is a suitable project to look at because it's already in existence. But we want to see the costs that we have to meet in order to ensure that it kicks in as soon as possible. Once we are clear on that, we'll be able to communicate our position to you.
Thank you, Minister Honorable Chasi. And the last question was from Jeffrey Moyo, New York Times, in terms of confidence building of our people. I must say Zimbabwe is going back to normalcy. And normalcy means that the country must have its own currency. I was in South Africa not long ago, 2 weeks ago, and I had $300 on me, US dollars, and I went to a shop, 3 shops, I didn't have much time, and all of them refused to accept my US dollars. I was actually asked to go to a bank where I had to wait in a queue for more than an hour, and I filled quite a number of forms to make sure that I changed my $300 US into rands. So what we have is actually, we are now living in an abnormal situation, and this statutory instrument has brought back normalcy into the country. We are aware that this is a process. I mean, we have been having a multi-currency for quite a long time. So it's a process, and there will be a lot of work which the government, together with the Reserve Bank, the Ministry of Finance, will be putting. I think the statutory instrument may be one step towards achieving what we want to achieve, but there's a lot more steps which will be then be given to the people so that at least our people have got confidence. I must say it has always been clear that our economy can only truly take off if we have got our own currency. And I must say to the people of Zimbabwe, we cannot be fearful of change, and we must boldly embrace change and move forward. This is what your government and the conditions which are put in place is for Zimbabwe, all Zimbabweans to actually benefit, not just a few Zimbabweans who are benefiting from the US dollar in this country. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Now let's have the last round. Anyway, we'll see what we can do. Let me start with you, then
Costa Mpumu with the newszimbabwe.com. I just want to understand if the country still has to expect a new currency in the wake of the statutory instrument 142.
okay. Yes, please.
My name is Maxwell Tabataba from Star FM. My question goes to the Minister of Energy. I would like to hear from you what exactly strategies are you going to use in terms of collecting debts, considering we have many companies, many institutions that owe ZESA, and also many households that owe ZESA, and also the issue of meters. I understand that there are a lot of households that hasn't been installed as a meter by ZESA. What are you going to do in terms of that?
Okay. I will make some decisions.
Privilege, Deutsche Welle, German International Broadcaster. My question is to Minister Chas. In terms of Kariba is our major source of power, but because of the critical dam levels, maybe if you could appraise us on the levels, how critical is it now, and how much more time are we left with before the end of the year as we expect rains?
Yes, please.
Thank you so much. My name is Perfect Shomali from ZFM. I want to find out, before the advent of the multi-currency regime, duty was paid in local currency. And my question is, why is it that now, even for luxuries, people are asked to pay in foreign currency? Is that not double standard on the part of the government?
Yes.
Thank you, Tabu Chiambakwe from Zimpapers TV. My question goes to Minister Nyoni. To say in this era we've entered now, we were saying we phased out the US dollar as legal tender. The informal sector is one of the largest sectors in the country. In the months that have gone by, government had said let's embrace plastic money, but most players in the informal sector were saying we don't want that. We want to use cash, and people were using cash. They were not listening to the calls of government. Now that you've said let's phase out the US dollar, how are you going to ensure that you also implement the regulation or the policy to be implemented at that level? Because the people in the informal sector have the largest stake regards the market in Zimbabwe right now? How will you ensure that trading using the US dollar will be abolished? And then to the Minister of the moment, Minister of Energy, you've spoken about the responsibility of government to pay the 20 million. You've also spoken on the behalf of the nation to say let's pay our bills. But what about the management in ZESA? We've also known over the years of the leakages that have been taking place. What are you going to do? You've told Minister Mutangwa that you're bringing a meter at your office. But what about the manager at ZESA who knew of the El Nino that was going to come and did not react on time to save the country from all this, these problems we're facing? Thank you.
Yes, please. I will have only the one.
Starando isikoti mwebuja ndakamira VOA. Mufunzo wangu ndekuti pama new measures akaiswa ipapo there seems to be confusion nenyaya dzemanositro. Hurumende iri kumanikidzira vanhu vane manositro kuti vange vachitengesa mari kumabhengi kana kuti zvichatoba sei kumaexporters nemaindividuals.
Okay. Yes, I will then have one last one at the back.
Okay, thank you so. Thank you. My name is Leopold Munende. I'm with newzimbabwe.com. My first question, does government have the capacity to implement the policy and counter the effects of the black market? In the past, government has tried, but money changers are more strict. So does this time, do they have capacity to deal with that this time around? And then the second one, it's in relation to what to Minister of Information, Monica Mtwanga's last statement. She said that US dollars were being collected or abused by only a select few. So we're not asking this question, only to say this to our viewers. Names were dropped at ZANU PF Youth League. Did Cabinet discuss that? Very big names. I am sure you all know the names. Did Cabinet discuss that, and what is the way forward? Are they going to react, or is just another list which we're going to ignore? Thank you.
Okay, let's move.
Thank you very much, Anthony Hodges. I have two questions. Government will be soon increasing the salaries of civil servants, and one of the major issues of keeping the currency stable and is obviously keeping government expenditure down. I want to know, first of all, government revenue. How will it cover the additional costs to civil servants in terms of pay increases, and will that not increase government expenditure? Second question is, and this is more of a comment I'd like, please, is that the market is, rumors are going around that Western Union and other money transfer agencies are not paying out in US dollars, and in fact they're saying they will convert into Zim dollars and pay out, and it's created a bit of panic. So just a bit of assurance, in fact, that it's not true. And as per the Reserve Bank, that money will be paid out in foreign currency to people that go and get their diaspora remittances. Thank you.
Right, let me give you the opportunity. Your hand up. Yeah, the last one.
I'm Amanyika Godfrey Bloomberg. My main question is directed to the Information Minister. Maybe if they can, she can clarify to us on government projections on the issue of inflation vis-a-vis the reintroduction of the local currency.
Okay, we've had a mouthful, so back to you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that was truly a mouthful. Thank you very much. Just to introduce to you our new minister who have walked in just after we started. Minister Nyoni is the acting Minister of Finance. So I was answering those questions before she arrived, and I want to give you the opportunity to answer the first question, which was from Mube Newsday. Was it Nonkomo? I think, yeah, newzimbabwe.com. Is there going to be a new currency minister? And also quite a number of them, but anyway, tackle that one first.
I think the answer is yes. The Minister of Finances announced that we are working, and in fact the President did announce when he was in Harare South that we are working on having our own currency. We are working towards that. But for now, RTDS and the bond notes are the trading currencies. our own currency is being worked on. I think that's the reply.
Thank you, Minister Nyoni. Certainly our currency is denominated at this point in coins, notes and RTGS, and all that is domestic currency. But as she said, rightly said, it will become ZFM, I hope I'm right. The question was directed to Honorable Chasif. What strategies are you going to use to collect debt, considering there are too many OOCs, and also the issue of many households with no meters?
Thank you very much. I want to start with an appeal to you who are here and the broader population of Zimbabwe. Power generation is central to economic development, and we really must do everything that is necessary to ensure that ZESA is viable from the point of view of us paying our bills. Absolutely essential. Huge amounts are owed by commerce and industry, by local authorities, by the generality of the public, which includes you and me. We need to pay our debts. We cannot consume power and expect that there's nothing that we have to pay for it. We can't run businesses which consume power and we do not consider that that is part and parcel of the costs of production. So I want to have a very direct appeal to commerce and industry. Those companies that owe, please pay. Local authorities, please pay. Members of the public, please pay. Government has paid, it has led the way, but we should never, as a nation, allow ourselves to get to this point where we are now. Now, let me talk about meters. I mentioned to you earlier on that we need to manage the demand side, and meters are a very critical component of this. I've asked ZESA to develop a plan. When you don't have a plan, you are planning to fail. And I would like to know exactly, precisely the number of meters that we are installing in a month and where. And we need to put a lot of resources in that area, because it helps us in managing our consumption of power. A very, very critical point. I met ZESA on Monday, and I've emphasized and re-emphasized this. So some of the cash that we have received, we need it to go in that direction. It is true that there are new areas where people have not been given meters. We want to ensure that a new construction of houses that is happening, that we are in a state of readiness to ensure that there is power that is consumed within the context of meters. So this is a very, very critical point. Can I proceed to privilege?
Sure.
Yes, privilege. You asked me a question concerning Kariba. Kariba is now at 28%. When we say 28%, we're making reference to what electrical engineers term live water. So if you don't understand anything from today, there is dead water, there is live water, which generates power. Now, 28% is what is there for us. We are hopeful that we will have a rainy season that will raise the levels of the live water. It's very important that we must have a plan on power in the country. And the ministry is currently engaged in coming up with an integrated resource plan. What do I mean by that? I mean that we need a multiplicity of sources of power, because dependence on one source of power results in the challenges that we are facing now. We've got no control over the rains. We don't know when they are coming, how much is coming. It could be a cyclone, we don't know. So we need to hedge against the risks that are attendant on the usage of hydro power, because we can't control that bit. So we are looking at, we have investors who are interested in wind power, in gas, in solar power. We've done preliminary work of establishing the areas which are optimal for the production of solar power. And as I indicated, I would like to know the roof area in the urban areas, so that we can get investment even on that and disengage some consumers from the grid during the day. And if we do all those things wholesomely, we should be able to deplete the extent to which we need load shedding. I think we've all felt the discomfort that comes with this, and which is why I say that if there is anything for us to benefit from the challenges we are currently facing, is that we must work together. It's not about government sorting out the problem, or the Minister of Energy, or ZESA. We all must pay. The public owes about 350 million to ZESA. That money must be paid. We can be critical of them, but we still must pay for what we consume. And that's there was a question on ZESA management.
Yes. That was Chairman.
Chairman, yes. It's very, very important. Everything starts with governance. Everything starts with governance. ZESA must be properly governed, and we are working on that. But not only governance, proper management by people who realize the importance of the work that they are involved in, the centrality of the generation of power and its expenditure to economic development, to the livelihood of Zimbabwe as a whole. My position is very, very clear. If you are complicit in conduct that causes loss or damage to ZESA or the people of Zimbabwe generally, you must answer for it. It's really that simple. We are engaged at the moment in, we've just completed our study of the forensic report. And anyone who has a case to answer must answer. Anyone who must leave ZESA must do so. We would like people who have the national interest at heart and not people who are there to make money for themselves. I hope I've answered that question.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Minister Chasi. The other question which was left out there is from Perfect Zephyr. To you, Honorable Minister of Finance, it says this question was before the advent of multi-currency, duty was paid in local currency. And now we hear that the duty will still be paid in US dollars, but I don't think this is correct. But anyway, Minister of Finance.
I think that this was correct then. I think after this instrument, the ministry will revisit everything around the foreign currency issues. Thank you.
You want to address the minister? I was just looking at you. Please, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that the duty was paid in foreign currency. We had a multi-currency regime, so there was nothing to stop the multi-currency. I worked at Sinwa, wanted to pay in US dollars. There was nothing to stop you from doing that. But there was a time when the Minister of Finance indicated that luxury goods, they were now going to be, duty was payable in foreign currency, and that has been maintained in this statutory instrument.
The question was before the advent of the multi-currency regime, people were paying local currency. Was that not the position? Before the advent?
You mean in 2008?
Yes, going backwards.
So what was the question?
So the question is, people were allowed to pay in local currency then. When the multi-currency came, it was either you pay in foreign currency or you pay in a local currency. Then the instrument now says for luxuries, you are now supposed to pay in foreign currency, like if you want to import a car. Why is that? Is that not a double standard on the part of government? Because government has said we are reverting back to local currency.
You want to take it up or I'll give it back to the Minister of Finance? You want to take it up? Thank you.
I think there's no double standard, because if you are importing a luxury, obviously you have the dollars or the rands. So why can you say you don't want to pay in rands when you have the rands to go across the border and pay? So it's actually above board, because you have the money and so you can pay.
I think that is, it takes us to, again, Chambake asked Minister Nyoni about SMEs faced with this new statutory instrument. Oh, sorry, got me right?
Yes, thank you. I think this question was that SMEs were having problems transacting. They were demanding more cash than swiping. I don't think that is totally true. Some SMEs preferred to do EcoCash, and there are some who had their own machines, that they are transaction machines. And the cash, yes, they wanted it because it was available. And it's very easy and more convenient for an SME to be paid in cash than swiping, especially those that don't have the transaction machines. But now that we have a mono currency, I think it streamlines the economic actors. Because there was so much money out there, people wanted foreign currency so that they could then go into the black market to change. But now I think with what is happening now, everybody will be comfortable with the system that is attaining.
Thank you, Minister Nyoni. I know the Honorable Chassis has already dealt with the management of CESA. The Voice of America, you did ask a question, but I'm not going to
pane kusanzwisisa muvanu nenyaya dzemanostro nenyaya dzana Western Union and so forth, kuti vanhu are they able kuramba vachikwanisa kudraw mari dzavo ari ma USD kana kuti vakumaniriza kuti vange vachitengesa mari dzavo kumabhanga kana mabalance change. Muchitarisa musiyano pakati pema-exporters nema-individuals nema-company.
I think basa guru riripo sokutaura vanamboita basa guru riripo kuMinistry of Finance RBZ nesu information kupa vanhu information yakakwana. Information iripo, statutory instrument iripo pana pambera haina zvakadaro, hapana zvainochinja. Sokutaura vanamboita kuti hapana zvazvinochinja. Ane US dollar yake mumwe haana mhosva, anogara nayo, kana akuda kuichinja anoenda kubureau de change ochinja mari yake oenda onotenga mushonga. Ndozvazvinotaura. Vane manostro accounts avo vane mari yavo zvakare iri kuramba iri mumaakaunti imomo, hapana ari kuitora. Saka hapana zvachinja ndezvokuti legal tender it's actually local currency. Ndoda kuti ndiende kumberi. If you allow me, I think that's okay. Minister, this one.
Yes, I think his question was that he implied that people will now be forced to sell their money or to use their money differently from what they intended to be. I think there will be nothing like that. Your money in the bank, in the currency you have it, will be your money to use it as you please. But I think the difference is now that you have to change your money through the bank rather than through the black market.
Thank you, Minister. And then there was another question which was talking about a list. This was not discussed in Cabinet. They don't discuss allegations. We are waiting for the police to do their job, and those who will be found guilty will be dealt with according to the law. And the other question was, does government have capacity to, what was the capacity all about?
I was saying that government has tried to deal with the black market, but in the past the black market has always resurfaced, sometimes even stronger. This time around, will you be able to deal with the black market?
Let me touch it together with Andy Hodges. Sorry. Yeah, okay. Thank you. Let me touch it together with Andy Hodges, who says there are key fundamentals which should be in place for introducing local currency. And I think this is the key fundamentals which I talked about, which actually decrease expenditure and making sure that at least there is now a budget surplus. These are issues which were looked into before the introduction of the currency. And these key fundamentals are now in place. We actually have regained control of our budget. As I said, through decreased spending, we have also increased revenues, and for the first time in the recent memory, we have got a budget surplus. So the key fundamentals are now in place, and this will continue to happen. And in terms of saying government certainly has capacity. That's why I'm talking about the key fundamentals being put in place. Certainly are capable.
But also, Minister,
yes.
I think the black market really is a responsibility of all of us. I think all of us need to take responsibility to ensure that we transact and run our economy properly. And what caused the black market, I think we are all aware that there are some people whose business was to trade in foreign currency. Now that foreign currency has to go through the Reserve Bank. We are hoping that because we hope that there will be less of it in the market, then people will have now to go to the bank. That will keep that. But because now it's illegal also, I think as the Minister says, government needs to continue to be capable of keeping it. But it's not the responsibility of government alone. It has to be a responsibility of all of us, not to trade in foreign currency, but to use foreign currency for what it is meant to be used for, not to make it a business.
Certainly, thank you, Minister. Let us work together as one people for the success of our country. In Zimbabwe, we all want. Thank you.
Inflation projections.
Sorry,
inflation projections.
Oh, there's a question which was,
yes, on the inflation.
On inflation. Yes.
Would you want that question?
Yes, yes.
You want him to repeat it, or you are?
Yes, I think I'm clear about it.
Okay.
He was saying the projection on inflation given the introduction of $0. I think inflation really is fueled when you have too much money chasing little goods. And where we are coming from, we had a lot of cash in all currencies chasing few goods. Now that it is streamlined to have a mono currency, I think we are on the road of harnessing inflation. Because now we are not going to have every currency in the market chasing few goods. We are going to have our currency chasing the goods that we have. We will still have the challenge, but I think this is the first step towards managing inflation.
I do apologize, Minister. I just wanted to clarify my question. Because the government will be increasing civil servants' pay soon in the near future, that obviously is technically unbudgeted expenditure, which means that government expenditure will go up, which means government may need to go into the market and borrow. The question is how will government finance that, and will government be able to live within their means, so that that's the underpinning of TSP. It's important that government obviously constrains expenditure and doesn't go back and go to the central bank and with the overdraft and issue treasury bills. So as government makes sure that they will raise revenue or have enough revenue to cover those expenses without having to put in additional taxes to the ordinary Zimbabwean. Thank you.
I think sorry, Chair. I think the difference between now and the old regime is that the government now is is committed to living within its means. If you hear the Minister of Finance pronouncing an expenditure, they've already projected, they know that the budget will be there for it. We are committed as a government right now never to live beyond our means. We are not going to borrow to spend, but we are going to make sure we start with the revenue and then budget and then spend. So if we say we are going to pay civil servants, what it really means is that the budget is already there. So no fears.
All right, I want to thank you, and let's meet again next Tuesday. Thank you, Chief Secretary.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister and your team, for ably tackling all the questions. And the members of the media, we thank you for always being with us. And today, you were more active. And also the responses were equally robust. So thank you until we meet next week.